get the suction. And she's got color vise that always remind me of a sunflower. I think that's beautiful. Or a black-eyed Susan, those little flowers. Right now, it's creating the flap. That discoloration that's going to go across the entire eye. The hinge is going to be at the bottom, and the discoloration is the laser bubbling up underneath the topical layer, creating the flap. It's separating the topical layer from the rest of the tissue.
Okay.
Perfect. That eye's, the flap is done. That eye's done as far as the flap is concerned.
She moved her eye.
No, they just connected the the suction.
Let me go see about an earlier post-op. Here.
Is that right?
Miss Wall.
Okay. Okay. So I don't have to do that? No. Okay.
Sandy, they just got engaged.
Who did? Oh, aw. They just got engaged? Oh, congratulations.
Thanks.
So I gave her an...
You gave them an extra lifesaver?
Oh, I gave her EVMS discount because she's...
Oh, outstanding.
I don't... Okay. She's in States.
Yeah.
I don't want to give her choice. Alrighty, so let's see. There's a 7:45. Okay.
So now they're prepping the other eye.
They're trying to get it to where they can put that little clip in there to hold it open so that it creates the suction. Sometimes it's a little bit tedious depending upon the size of the person's eye or the size of the orbit area or how far set back they are. It can be a little bit tricky to get that perfect connection. One of the patients before her, they had to try to connect it twice. They were just, and that's completely normal. You know, I mean, sometimes it goes without a hitch the very first time, and sometimes they have to kind of negotiate it just a little bit. She must be a little nervous. She's shaking her foot. And it might be a little uncomfortable. This is the worst part, and she'll probably tell you that afterwards. This is the worst part. It's going to be uncomfortable and a little bit pressure.
Yeah. You mean the part they just did on the other eye?
Well, no, this part here where they're leaning out, they're putting the clip in there, they're holding it open, and then when they create the suction, if you can just imagine somebody taking a vacuum hose and like that to your eye, it's not painful.
They already did that on the other eye, though,
They
right?
did it on the other eye. But see, they've got that clip in there, and that's a plastic clip, and it's right in the center, in her orbital area. And that's probably a little bit uncomfortable for her as well, because they're holding it open. But once we get the flap done on this one, it's all downhill from there. This is the worst part, if you can say that there's a worse part.
Suction?
Perfect. Once you see the eye come into focus like that, then it's created the suction, and then they don't waste any time. As soon as that happens, they're going to go ahead and try to create the flap. And because it's less discomfort for her as well, the sooner they do it and get it done, and then they release her.
Creating the flap.
The flap, again, it's hinged at the bottom. We're sitting where Dr. Scoper is, and it's just billions of bubbles up underneath the topical layer.
Okay.
The epithelium.
So can she see
Perfect.
right now?
She can see. It's extremely blurry.
She's used to that. So they just took the flap?
They just disconnected the suction part. Now they're going to move her over to the other laser.
So they're about halfway through?
Probably a little bit more than halfway. It's all subjective, I guess. This is the longest part of the whole deal, and it took a little bit longer because they spent a little bit more time making sure that clip was in there so that they could create the suction. The actual laser procedure itself it's milliseconds. You can't even really determine it because I'll be showing you up here, and there's not a point where I can say, there it is, that's the correction right there. It just glistens a little bit, you just really can't see it. The best part's coming up, because what's going to happen is they're going to take some surgical tape and they're going to hold open her eyelash, hold back her eyelashes. Then they're going to take a speculum and they're going to stick it in like this and hold her eyelids wide open like that. And at that point is when he's going to take another instrument that I don't know the name for, I probably couldn't pronounce it anyway, and he's going to loosen the flap and fold it back. And we'll see all that up here. But that's the surgical tape holding the lashes out of the way. And they've got one eye covered up too. They'll do one at a time. And there's the speculum, our lid holder. Now she'll probably end up with some bloodshot all around the white part of the eye there. Completely normal. The only thing is it's probably going to take a week to 2 weeks to go away.
Okay.
So I wouldn't plan any formal pictures between now and then. Now from here he's going to take a little stamper and he's going to mark 3 tattoos on the area. Excuse me a second. You can see that this is where the flap is down here, the hinge. He's going to mark tattoos all the way around so that when he peels back the flap and he does this correction and he puts it back into place, he's going to make sure that these lines are lined up. That way he knows it's exactly seated where it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Now, it's not flat either. When the laser does the flap, it actually goes in on an angle, so it creates kind of a ridge or a gully. So that helps it to seat properly and begin healing properly, rather than being just flat on the top. Kind of like when when you were a kid and you did a pumpkin, and you don't cut straight down, you cut kind of on an angle so that the top doesn't fall through.
Yeah.
Similar idea. Now remember the hinge is on the bottom, and he's just loosening the flap.
This part's not uncomfortable?
She's got numbing drops, and she's had the Valium. She shouldn't really feel much of anything.
So
she
what
knows
is she
what's happening.
seeing right now?
The lights, the like stadium lights at the top and that red light. And it's still going to be blurry. Now now he's got the flap down. He's going to put a protective sponge over that. And like I said, the correction is really at the exact point that it's happening. It's hard to pinpoint. You'll see it glisten a little bit right in this area here. And you know that the correction is that they're either flattening or steepening the cornea, the surface of the cornea.
Okay.
Okay. So whatever her correction was, they're doing one or the other. They're steepening or flattening. See the glistening all around the red? That's the laser doing the correction. That's how, I mean, you have to really, really look at it, because that's the best way I can describe it, is the little glistening there.
That was it?
Done. That was it.
So is it he doing it or a computer that kind of knows what to do?
Well, it is computerized as far as that goes. He is working the laser, but it is computerized, and both eyes are different. Everybody's eyes are different. They input the information, and he's the one that actually runs the laser so that it actually knows what area and what surface and how much to take off, how much to do this and that.
So how's that flap going
Heal?
to? Yeah.
Well, it's living tissue still, so it's going to go back in that ridge that I talked about. It's living tissue. It's going to immediately begin to start healing.
Okay.
Kind of just like if we had like a blister and we put the flap of our skin over it.
But I'm saying right now, like obviously he's not going to suture it in, so
No.
how will it stay on there?
Just natural. The ridge that I talked about, it's going to sit in there, and it just naturally does it. There are no sutures.